Louise, do you have a family?
I do, yes. I am married to Chris. I met Chris in church 24 years ago. I was stood next to him whilst we were singing. And as we were singing, I looked over and I thought, oh my word, he is gorgeous. And then I thought, I'll just have another look and see if he got a wedding ring on, and he didn't. So I thought, after church, you're the first person I'm going to talk to. So we've been married 21 years. We have 2 children, teenage boy, Thomas, who's 14, into football. And at that stage where he doesn't necessarily talk, he just grunts. But I think he loves me, and it's brilliant. And then I have an 11-year-old daughter, Fionn, who is very much a mini-me. And she loves dancing and chatting and shopping. So yeah, that's our family unit. That's Team Davies.
Oh, that's cool. You call yourself Team Davies?
Yeah, absolutely. We're a team. We're a team, and we work really well together most of the time.
Yeah. But with Corona, with a girl who likes to shop and chat and dance, that must be quite hard.
Yeah, it's been really interesting in the pandemic, because normally, as I said earlier, I spend half of my week away in London and then the rest of the week in Sheffield. But the pandemic and the lockdown here in the UK, it's brought on a whole different, lots of different challenges and joys. You know, we've been homeschooling our kids, which has been an amazing experience. And my kids seem to have really flourished in that, to be honest. And then we've discovered the power of Zoom. So my daughter does her dance classes on Zoom, would you believe it?
Oh, wow.
And, you know, my kids have been able to communicate with their friends using various devices. So yeah, it's been interesting, but I think it's been good for me just to catch my breath for a year. But as an extrovert and as in a family of extroverts, you know, we're desperate for the restrictions to be lifted and we can mix with other members of our family and our friends. But those restrictions are actually lifted in the UK on Monday, so it'd be great to see my parents then.
Oh, great. Oh, you didn't see your parents for a long time?
No, I've not been allowed to go into each other's houses. I mean, though we've been using you know, FaceTime and things like that to speak to them. But yeah, it's been a really challenging season for a lot of people in the UK because we haven't been allowed to travel and we've not allowed to see our families. So, you know, a lot of my friends haven't seen their families in, you know, since last March, you know, last year. So it's been
and not only see them, but hug them as well.
Yeah.
And parents need to hug.
Apparently we can hug on Monday. So
yeah, that's so important. Yes,
it is. That physical touch is really important. So I'm looking forward to spending time with my parents and just being able to go in their house again and just be with them, you know, because it's great. You know, I love Zoom and I love what's happening now, but there's nothing quite like that interaction of being, you know, having a coffee with someone. And so that's what I've really missed. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Cornel, how is your family?
So my wife, she's an artist. We are married 23 years already, and we have a boy, 22 years. He's gone already from our house this January this year.
Okay.
He's gone to his own house.
Now there was this Corona time and it was for some families a struggle. My oldest one was almost homeschooling for one whole year and she was almost depressed because being like almost 15, you don't want to be stuck with your parents. You want to go out with your friends, meet your friends, and girls of her age are more role models than me as a mother. How was that with you, Auke? Did you, in your Corona time, you lived with your whole family in Brussels, in Antwerp?
Antwerp, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was actually quite okay because, well, my daughter, as I said, is 5.5 now. So she was 4.5 when this whole pandemic started. And yes, in the first months...
A little bit more with your
Yeah,
mom.
sorry. The first months, March to, what was it, May last year, schools were closed in Belgium. So she was full-time home. But I was full-time home too, because I had to work from home. And my wife is working as a family doctor, but she works part-time. So she was part-time out of the house, but part-time also home. So we were able to just manage that perfectly. And then this school year, starting from September, here in Belgium, the schools have been closed only 1 week extra, which was before the fall break. So furthermore, the schools were open all time. So
for her, this was not a difference.
for us, it was perfect, because I work mostly from home. But I mean, she was at school basically this time, so
and
I can't complain.
And as your wife was half time working out of the house, so you had time relax in Antwerp alone in your house. So that was quite good for you.
Well, time to relax is probably a different story, because obviously I had to work first.
Oh yes,
Secondly,
of course.
we are a very modern family, so we share the household. So I was cooking and cleaning, and I took my part in the household. So
the wife can chat. So there's a chat open.
Did you
So
learn any new recipes for?
I learned a lot of new recipes for this time. Yeah, but actually I'm better cook, if I may say, than my wife, because my wife cooks because she likes it, and I cook. My wife cooks because she has to, and I cook because I like it. So my wife just makes whatever is needed, and I just
healthy.
cook because I love it. So
okay.
I think we should get Auke's wife on here, see if that's true, see if he is the better cook.
Yes, there is this chat here, so I'm just thinking.
So I'm
she's at
sorry.
work.
Yeah.
She can't. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Then we have to believe you. Okay. And how was it with you, Cornel, with the Corona time?
So that's for me very nice that during I should work more on the house, but like what he said about the households and let's say new types of living. So I learned to make or to cook myself bread in the house. So my wife told me to do. Now, why to buy bread? Why not to cook ourselves? So it's very easy. At the beginning, I was thinking it's complicated. No, it's very simple. It's more complicated with our heads, what we are doing. The trend of industry that to keep ourselves with what we were doing in the past. So somehow I see these times more challenging, more opportunities to come.
Now this weekend, tomorrow, it will be Family Day. So I'm so curious, are you going to celebrate this? Or is it just a regular day for you? Louise, are you going to celebrate it somehow with your family?
I don't think we'll probably have a celebration, but we'll certainly be spending the day together. My son's playing a football match tomorrow, and my daughter's having a haircut and having a hairstyle, so we'll probably have a little bit of a special meal probably later on the day, but it'll be just great to just spend time together. So
maybe you can hire Auke, he can cook for your family.
Yes.
If I'm allowed entering the UK, I could.
Oh yeah, that's
but
true.
You cook online.
Oh no.
That's right food then. It's
that's
good.
where technology is terrible, isn't it? You know, It's like I don't want to see food. I actually want to eat food.
You're right.
And smell it. And Cornel, are you going to spend it on a more special day or not? Family Day.
So will be a family day, clear, like usually all the weekends we are celebrating in the family. So between us, for example, with my family, with my wife, we have, let's say our time is to have in the morning a coffee together. So we can say that our most important time of the family time is to drink a coffee together. We leave all the other works apart, and within this time, for 15, 20, half an hour, we speak between us. So it's very important to listen up, each of us, and we share some experience. And it's very important to have this 15, 20 minutes, if it's possible, every day. As an entrepreneur, I have more free time, so I'm not obliged to go to work or somewhere. Right now I'm driving, but when we are home, we are celebrating every day, every coffee, a family day. So we can say
Yes, you have a family day every morning. That's the best start of the day with coffee
also,
together. Yes, it's super nice.
Yes.
I did
the
it
other
too
side,
this morning.
we have on the next day, like tomorrow is Saturday, this 15th of May, this International Day. But next day, for example, in Bucharest, will be the launching of the TV online, Catholic TV online. So it's very good to have such.
Wow.
And this is a great idea.
Yes.
To encourage spirituality, progress, Christians to be alive and to be present in the life of public life. So that's also a good event for us to be very close, dedicated to the family.
Auke, are you going to spend some time, extra time with your family right now?
Well, yes and no. I mean, of course. I mean, it's a weekend, and we try to, to dedicate our time to our family in the weekends and so on. We're not really celebrating, especially this day, as our day of family, because due to our adoption, we have another family day, and that's the day when we were, let's say, matched. The day we were in China, and we met our daughter, and so on. So that's our family day.
And what are you doing on a day like that?
Then we celebrate. We try to celebrate that for her in a Chinese way. So we order Chinese food, and we show her the pictures from the travel to China, and we talk about it, and we talk about the adoption, which we basically do the whole year, of course. But
yes, on that day a little bit more.
Yeah, some extra decoration from China, things like that.
Okay, and hopefully in a little while you have 2 of these days per year.
Yeah, we hope so. The interesting part will be that due to COVID, we won't adopt from China most likely this time, because China, for COVID reasons, but also political reasons at the moment, is stopping adoptions. So our next one most likely will come from Burkina Faso, which is West Africa. So we will just mix Chinese and African culture then. So that's
and Dutch and Belgium.
Belgium,
so international.
Whatever, yeah.
So you're. And Louise, did you always want to have a family when you were growing up?
Yeah, and I grew up in such a loving family in Sheffield. Mum and Dad are still alive, still together, and they live around the corner from where I live. So they still live in the family home, and had a great child growing up, and always outward looking. Mum and Dad were always serving in their community, and so it didn't surprise me that I would eventually go into church ministry and be setting up food banks and projects for refugees, because that's what Mum and Dad put into me as a child. And so it's really interesting now, though, because my parents becoming elderly, the roles are reversing. So I'm kind of caring for Mum and Dad now, and Dad had open heart surgery over Christmas, and it was all very sudden. So he spent Christmas away from us. And in the UK, you're not actually allowed to visit people in hospital at the moment because of COVID. So that was really particularly tough for us. But so I actually moved in with Mum and Dad, with Mum for the Christmas week to look after her, because Mum has dementia. So she's not capable of living on her own. But we just had a super week of spending that time together. And so because Mum was getting confused, she didn't know where Dad was, I ended up sleeping in their bed, and she would just wake me up in the middle of the night, and then she'd work out where I was there. But we had so many giggles and so much love.
So nice.
And in the most challenging of situations, it was just brilliant just to spend that time with Mum.
And Auke, you're from the Netherlands originally. By growing up, were you thinking about getting yourself your own family, or were you more like, when I grow up, I want to become a policeman or fireman? Or
well, obviously I thought about that, the pilot and the policeman and the fireman, and all these typical ways of earning your money. But I'm from a family of 6 so to say. So I have 5 brothers and sisters, and interestingly enough, my wife as well.
Okay.
So we're both from a kind of a big family, at least in the culture in the Netherlands. So
Yes.
for us, it has been always very normal to have big families, to enjoy big families, because it was, well, of course we had our quarrels, and of course we had our, family issues, but in
Yes.
general, it was so much fun. So yeah, my wife and I, we have always said, we'd love to have a big family. So we'll just continue with the adoptions.
Yes, yes, and did you have a role model, or was your mother and your father the biggest role model?
Yeah, most of it, yeah, of course, yeah. I've been moving a bit in my youth, so yeah, in church and in other places, people changed, so to say, because we
Yeah.
changed. So yeah, the stable factors, of course, were my parents. So yeah, they were definitely my role model. Although, well, like every child, there's always something you would say I would do better, but
Of course, yes,
then it
especially
turns
on a
out you are
certain
not,
age.
but-
Yes,
exactly.
yeah. I'm waiting for that point to happen with my kids too, that they figure
Can
out.
imagine, yeah.
Someone who wants to have a comment or have a question, and that's Matthieu Bruynseels from Europe for Family. And he is here with a question or a comment. Welcome, Matthieu. I hope.
Welcome, Mariska. I'm
Hello.
very glad to be present to your coffee meeting. So I'm
You
Matthieu
have coffee
Bruynseels.
too? You drink coffee too, or do you are already on the wine?
We'll give you one if you don't have it.
Yes.
I am Belgian, so we mostly drink beer, but not before the lunch. It's not too
It's almost lunchtime, so you have to
Okay.
wait
To hear.
a little bit more. Okay.
So I am actually working in Brussels as a representative for Europe for Family to the EU institution, and our NGO mostly work into the promotion of the sustainability of the family into the European public policies. So we had contacts with the Commission regarding the issue of infertility, or also to the preservation of marriage. And what is really my personal involvement to the topic of family is that I'm an adopted child, like the
Okay.
children of Auke. So I know how it's important to be raised in a stable and a wise atmosphere to construct your own identity, actually.
Oh, how nice! And did you also celebrate the adoption day?
Not really the day of my adoption, because it's, that the adoption process is sometimes very long. So between the day of my parents decided to make an adoption and my arrival in Belgium, it was quite long. But
Yes.
Generally, my mother reminds me the different steps every year. So,
Cool.
on this day 30 years ago, we were in Chile to bring you to Belgium, or on this day you arrived in Belgium under the snow.
Because where were you born?
I am born in Chile, so in South America.
Okay.
My adoptive parents, being unable to conceive children on their own, they opted for adoption. They first adopted my sister from Colombia.
Okay.
Yes.
So you have an international family as well.
Yes. And
Okay.
then 5 years later, and I was an orphan then, and my adoptive parents came in Chile to bring me to Belgium when I was 4 months old. So
Oh,
I have no real
little
memories
baby.
of my stay in Chile.
Oh. And you work in an NGO. What can you do for families with your work?
So mostly we have contacts with members of the European Parliament or commissioners. For example, the Commissioner for Demography, Ms. Dubravka-Šuica,
Yes.
regarding the issue of infertility, which plays a crucial role in the current decline of population. And I indeed feel this topic very important, as my own adoptive parents were not able
struggle so much.
they really struggle to have children of their own.
Yes.
Finally, they decided to adopt. So I know how it's important for couples to be able to raise their own children, not only on a biological point of view, but also with all the fiscal and economical
support
environments. Yes.
And do they listen to your NGO, or are they willing to listen to parliamentarians from Europe?
Yes, indeed. We notice that many politicians are very keen to develop the knowledge on those topics, but it takes time for them to know how this topic is complex and must be addressed.
Okay. And Auke, do you here, because you worked also in the European Parliament, was this also a topic where you were busy with?
Personally, well, yes and no. It obviously depends a bit on what the agenda was from the European Parliament, right? Because I was not working for an NGO, I was working for a member of European Parliament, and of course, family was one of our core issues. But yeah, in the end, we just had to follow the parliamentary agenda mostly, because that's where the votes were about and so on. But as soon as we had the opportunity, we of course took our a chance. And I mean, I think it's nice. It's good that Matthieu here also is speaking a little bit about adoption and so on. And I think we should take it a little wider, and probably now the Protestant in me is speaking a bit, giving a little bit more the serious content. But I mean, UNICEF, right, from the United Nations, estimates that there are over 140 million orphans in the world at this moment, right?
Oh.
And we all, I believe, think that our families, these are the cornerstones of our societies, right? These are the places where children learn the first steps in the world. They learn to be...
Your camera.
Find their identity whatsoever. So I think as people, as politicians, as Christians, as husbands and wives, as whatever, there is a big work to do here, because so many orphans, 140 million, that's unimaginable how many that is. That's like a third of the European Union all over the world. And it doesn't mean that we all need to go to adoption. There is foster care, there are other forms of ways how to form a family in like homes or whatsoever. To take care of them, but we need to form some kind of family for these people, because it's the best way to grow up.
Yes, and of course we need to help these sweet children. And if you want to have kids and you can't have them, this is a very good way. We have that's one. Just one little addition to what you said. If you can't, that's definitely a way. Yeah. But that's not the only way. There's also, if you have a family but you have some space, right? Yeah. If you have the opportunity, it's always good to add a foster child or an adoptive child, or to do it in a different way, to take care of the children of your neighbor, if that's needed. We have a new guest in our chat cafe, and that is Ivan from Vargas. Welcome, Ivan.
Hi, Adriana. Nice to see you. Nice to join this meeting. This cafe is very. I really appreciate the initiative. So, congratulations.
Yes, and are you also drinking a coffee or?
For you.
Yes, I'm drinking a coffee in an Italian restaurant close to the European Parliament where I used to work and where I work. But today, you know, it's holiday time, so I'm close to the Parliament having a good Italian coffee.
Oh,
So
we're all
cheers.
jealous. We are
Cheers to
all
all.
jealous to the best coffee in the world. And what are you doing with Vargas?
Well, as maybe someone knows, I'm assistant of a Spanish MEP who is involved in the defense of the family and all our Christian values. So we are giving the battle and we are defending the family. My MEP is a mother of 8. She's waiting the 9th. So she has 8 children and now she's waiting the 9th.
That is your wife? Or?
No, it's my deputy, my MEP.
Oh,
MEP,
wow.
Europarliament.
Yeah, that's and I'm married. I have two children, one daughter and one son.
And from which country are you?
I'm from
Portugal.
Spain.
From Spain.
I'm from Spain. Sorry about my English. I have to improve my English, but it's nice to be able to communicate a little bit with you.
You speak very good English. Very
Thank
good.
you, and to share my battle in the Parliament, because for me it's a great sacrifice because I'm alone in Brussels.
Yes.
My wife and my daughter and my son, they are still in Madrid, and I don't see them too much, you know, because of the COVID and so on. But my wife and my son and my daughter, they know that I'm giving the battle for the family, because the family is very important for us. And it's important to me because it is the natural reflection of God's love for man, for God's love for humanity. And the family is the best school for the Christians, you know. It's a school of Christian life, you know.
Yes.
So it's very important to give this battle and to put the family in the place that belongs to the family, you know. And this is what we are trying to do in the Parliament, in the European Parliament.
Yes.
So this sacrifice is understood by my family.
Cornel, do you have some thoughts which you can share to end this great chat coffee meeting?
So I prefer just to say that the family is a joy. It's not something very bad. So I try to encourage. That's like to have this type of meeting. So these times brings opportunities to challenge and to share between us the thoughts of the joyful families. Of course, there are many conflicts, but this is natural. The most important part is the attitude, how we look at this, how we join, how we share the bad things and good things. So the life has both of them. It's not possible to have only one. So that's something we need to share and to grow together. In these times, we have more and more opportunities to defend the family as a public institution. It's not only a private institution. So that's why we encourage together to make a network of family of friends or family-friendly institutions to work together towards bringing the voice, to carry the voice of the families in the European Parliament and at the European level. So we need to work together in such a good scope for our families.
Okay, that's a really beautiful ending. And yes, it is. Family is super cool. And but thank you for being here. And I love to see you next year again.
Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you.
International Day of Family to everyone.
Yes. Everyone, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.